Good evening and welcome to Global Lens News. I'm Saadia Afzaal. Today we are breaking down the 2026 Munich Security Conference, where global leaders, diplomats and policymakers met under the theme of a world under destruction to debate security, alliances and geopolitical divides. From sharp remarks about transatlantic relations to criticisms from unexpected corners. From sharp remarks about transatlantic relations to criticisms from unexpected corners. This year's conference was packed with drama. Let's dive in. The Munich Security Conference, formerly Munich Conference on Security Policy, is an annual conference on international security policy that has been held in Munich, Germany since 1963. It is the world's largest gathering of its kind. Over the past 4 decades, the Munich Security Conference has become the most important independent forum for the exchange of views by international security policy decision makers. Each year, it brings together about 350 senior figures from more than 70 countries around the world to engage in an intensive debate on current and future security challenges. The 62nd Munich Security Conference kicked off in Germany with the blunt assessment: the rules-based world order is under strain. The guiding framework circulating among analysts and reporting describes MSC 2026 as being under destruction, a theme reflecting widespread concern that the post-Cold War rules-based international order is actively being challenged and reshaped by major conflicts, geopolitical rivalries, economic fragmentation, and political polarization, rather than merely eroding gradually. Chairman Wolfgang Ischinger said the transatlantic relationship is facing an inflection point as global insecurity grows. Over 60 heads of state, foreign ministers, and defense leaders were in attendance to grapple with crises from the war in Ukraine to questions over NATO's future. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz delivered one of the keynote speeches, warning that freedom is no longer a given in a world dominated by great power rivalry. He argued that the post-Cold War era of stability has ended and urged Europeans to think independently about their security and defense capabilities. A major highlight was a speech by US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, which drew both applause and criticism.
This is why President Trump demands seriousness and reciprocity from our friends here in Europe. The reason why, my friends, is because we care deeply. We care deeply about your future and ours. So in a time of headline heralding the end of the transatlantic era, let it be known and clear to all that this is neither our goal nor our wish. Because for us Americans, our home may be in the Western Hemisphere, but we will always be a child of Europe.
Rubio framed his remarks around a version of US foreign policy tied closely to the current Trump administration's worldview. He reaffirmed the importance of strong alliances with Europe, saying the US and Europe belong together. But he also criticized Western policies on migration, trade, and climate, arguing that they weakened competitiveness and societal cohesion. Rubio's rhetoric blended diplomacy with subtle pressure. He spoke of unity, but stressed that cooperation depended on allied nations aligning with the US priorities on defense and economic policy. This message was seen as an attempt to rebuild transatlantic trust, even while pushing for stronger European defense spending and sharper responses to Russia and China. Not everyone agreed with the US line.
Contrary to what some may say, woke, decadent Europe is not facing civilizational erasure. In fact, people still want to join our club, and not just fellow Europeans.
EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas strongly rejected parts of the US narrative, particularly recent American claims that Europe is facing civilizational erasure. She called such remarks European bashing and insisted Europe remains a vibrant, diverse, and attractive continent with strong democratic values. Kallas emphasized that Europe must carve out its own strategic autonomy including stronger defense cooperation and industrial capability, while still working with the US on core shared interests. French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer all echoed the theme of boosting European defense independence, signaling shift toward a stronger European pillar within NATO. Meanwhile, in London circles, UK Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper took aim at domestic critics, who she said weaken the UK's NATO commitment, accusing some parties of being soft on Russia and underestimating security threats.
As part of the NATO alliance as well, is taking ever more seriously the kinds of hybrid and cyber threats and so on we face, and recognising that alongside the defence and military capabilities that we need to continue to invest more in, what we also need to do is to strengthen our response to hybrid threats and challenges as well.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, as reported by several media outlets, stressed the need for Europe to be ready to defend itself against Russian aggression and noted warning signs of ongoing threats. It wasn't just Western leaders who spoke up. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi openly criticized the conference, calling it a Munich circus, especially after the son of Iran's former Shah was invited to speak. Araghchi said Europe's policies toward Tehran showed confusion and a lack of real geopolitical influence. Other voices at the event echoed concerns about global issues like the Middle East, Gaza, and international accountability, though these were not central at every panel. So what were the biggest takeaways? 1. US officials sought to reaffirm ties while pushing Europe to adopt shared defense and economic postures. 2. Leaders from the EU stressed less dependence on the US and stronger internal capabilities. 3. Non-Western actors, Iran in particular, lambasted the forum as too Western-centric. And 4. Russia's ongoing war in Ukraine and NATO's future remained central to many discussions. The Munich Security Conference 2026 highlighted a world in flux, not only in terms of wars and crises, but in how allied powers relate to one another. From debates over Europe's strategic independence to sharp critiques of Western policies, this year's gathering showed that old alliances are being tested even as new challenges emerge. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think the most important takeaway from Munich was. This is Saadia Afzaal for Global Lens News.